Graphing linear equations, part 3. In today's lesson, students will graph linear equations using X and Y intercepts. Using what? Very good. Using X and Y intercepts is actually the easiest way to graph a linear equation. But you have to know what is an intercept. Does intercept sound like the word intersect? Does it sound the same? Yes? What do you think, Hector? Yeah, it does. So intercept and intersect mean the same thing. Now, when you talk about the X intercept, which axis do you think that that's on? Which one? Who said the x-axis? Very good. So the X intercept is actually the coordinate that is on the x-axis. Okay? So in order to find the x-intercept, you have to do something to the linear equation. Remember, linear equations have two variables. How many do they have? Two. One is x and the other one is y. Very good. So if you want to get x, you have to make the other variable 0. So if you want the x-intercept, then that means you have to make y 0. Okay? So, if you want the x-intercept, y has to be 0. Okay? And you know when you have 0, when 0 is for y and it's on the right, then you're going to have a point that is on the x-axis somewhere. Okay? Because you don't go up, it's on the axis. Make sense? Okay, let's talk about the y-intercept. The y-intercept is, which axis do you think it's on? It's a coordinate, it's the y-coordinate on which axis? Y-intercept. Which axis is it? It's the y-axis, okay? So, the y-coordinate on the y-axis. So what does this mean? You're talking about now the y-coordinate, right? So if you want to find the y-coordinate, you can do this by letting x equal 0. Okay, this is where x is 0. Now when you're at 0, okay, where x is 0, remember, x is 0 at the origin. Okay, this is the x-axis. But you want to find the y-intercept. That means you're either going to go up or you're going to go down, right? So whatever coordinate it is going to be on the y-axis. So let's review. I told you that if you want to find an intercept and you let x equal 0, what intercept are you actually looking for here? What is the, if you're not talking about x, you don't want x, you're really talking about y. That's exactly right. So this is going to be the y-intercept, okay, where x equals 0. What about where y equals 0? If you don't want y, then what do you want? You want x. Very important. Okay? So you want x. And I know this is kind of confusing, but just think. If you don't want x, you want y. If you don't want y, you want x. Okay, repeat what I just said. If you don't want x, you want y. And if you don't want y, you want x. Okay, does that make sense? All right. So let's take a look at an equation, a linear equation with both x and y. But this time, it doesn't start with y. I want you to see equations in standard form. What did I say? Equations in standard form. That's right. An equation in standard form, it starts with x, actually. So let's look at this equation. It says 3x plus 5y equals 15. Now, this is a linear equation. Linear equations form a, try that again. Linear equations form a A line, very good. So now I want to look for the y-intercept. Which intercept do I want to look for? The y-intercept. So if I want to look for the y-intercept, x is 0. When you take a look at the coordinate pair, x is going to be 0, right? In parentheses, it's going to be 0. You're looking for y. You want y. So what we need to do is we need to make x 0 by plugging it into the equation, right? What are we doing? We're plugging it in. That's right. So if x is 0, we're going to say 3 times 0. What is x? X is, what's x? X is 0. Then you're going to add 5y. It's going to equal 15. Now, whenever you multiply a number by 0, you get 0, exactly. So you know how when you have a positive number and a negative number, they make 0? Okay, this is the same idea. 3 times 0 is 0. It goes away. It's gone. Okay, you can't see it anymore. Okay, it's gone. But you still have 5y equals 15. So if you go ahead and say 5y equals 15, now we have to solve for y. Okay? So again, Mr. 5 is married to Miss Y, and Miss Y wants to be a single lady. So what do you have to do to both sides? You remember, you have to do what? You have to divide by both sides by 5. And tell me now, what is 15 divided by 5? How many times you count by 5 to get to 15? 5, 10, 15. 3 times, right? So in this case, the y-intercept is 3. So your first point is 0 up 3. Okay? Now we're going to look for the x-intercept. Which intercept are we going to look for? The x-intercept. That's correct. Now here, when you want to find x, and you don't want y, you make y 0. So the equation, read it with me. Let's just make sure you can read this equation. Say 3x plus 5y equals 15. So we're going to keep the 3x because we want the x-intercept, but this time we are going to make y, what? What is y, people? What is y? It's 0. So you multiply it by 0, and that's still going to give you 15. 5 times 0 makes 0. It goes away. Okay? So then you're still left with 3x. And now what does 3x equal? It equals what? It equals 15. Okay? Mr. 3 and Miss X, they don't want to be together anymore, so they have to get a divorce. It's very sad, but it happens all the time in this country. 15 divided by 3 is? Who said 5? Good job. It is 5. Now again, y is 0. So where y is, you have to make that 0. And what did we just find for x? What did we find for x? We found 5. That's right. So there's your ordered pair. Now, you have the y-intercept and the x-intercept. What did I say? You have the y-intercept and the x-intercept. And now you can go ahead and graph. On a coordinate plane, you only need to graph 2 points. How many points? 2 points, okay? You only have to graph 2 points. What are the 2 points? The first point is 0 up 3. The second point is 5. Don't go up, okay? So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and label this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -1, -2, -3. I'll stop there. Then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the positive direction, and -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. All right, here we go. So again, with intercepts, if you're talking about 0, 3, okay, you talk about this point right here. This is the y-intercept because this is where x is 0. You're going to start at 0 on the x-axis. Which axis? The x-axis. Okay, and then you're going to go up 3. So you're at 0, 1, 2, 3. So you're right here. There's your intercept. Again, the y-intercept intersects y at 3. It's touching 3 on the y-axis. Okay, the second one you're going to do is 5, 0. So you're always going to start with what axis? Which axis are you going to start with? You're going to start with x. And if x is 5, do you go up? No. So here you are. You're right at 5. So what you're going to do is you're going to connect these dots. You have 2 points, and your line goes down. So those are your y and x intercepts. Let's do another example. In this example, the linear equation starts with y. We're very used to seeing it this way. Okay? So if we're looking for the y-intercept, okay, that means x is going to be equal to 0. Because if you don't want x, you want y. And if you don't want y, you want x. So we're going to substitute 0 in the place of x. So let's do that now. Everyone read this with me. Say y equals -2 times x. What is x? What's x? It's 0. Then we're going to add 4. Very good. Okay. So let's continue. -2 times 0 makes 0. Cross it out. You're left with y equals 4. Great job. Now again, if x is 0, then y is 4. So our first coordinate point is 0, 4. Let's try this one. Now we're going to find the x-intercept. Okay? When you find the x-intercept, you need to make the y 0. Because if you don't want y, you want x. All right? So we're going to say y. What is y? What is y? It is 0. So 0 equals -2x plus 4. Let's take a look at this now. I don't think we've seen this before. Now, we want to solve for x, but we need the term on one side and the number on the other side. So what we need to do is take this 4, and it needs to come on the other side of the T-bone steak. So what do you think we're going to do to both sides? We're going to do what? We're going to subtract 4. Very good. Subtract 4. So what's 0 take away 4? I'm going to ask you again because I know that you said it was 4. What is 0 take away 4? You're going 4 in the negative direction. Guess what? It's -4. That's right. Equals -2x, okay? Now, even though the term is on the right and the number's on the left, it doesn't change it because Mr. -2 needs to get divorced from Miss X. So we're going to divide both sides by what, do you think? Divide both sides by, not +2, -2. That's correct. Okay. So what is x? What is -4 divided by -2? Okay, remember Bob's cousin. He says to you, a negative divided by a negative is positive, homie. So x is going to equal positive, what? +2. That's right. So the x-intercept is 2, but the y-coordinate is 0. Okay, wonderful job. Let's just graph this. You have 2 points to graph. How many points? You have 2. What are the points? Well, the points are called the x-intercept and the y-intercept. Let's do the y-intercept first. Okay. You're at 0, 4. 0, up 4. Again, you start at 0 and then you go up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's the intercept right there. Okay, your second intercept is the x-intercept. That's it, 2, 0. Okay, you're going to start on the x-axis. You're going to start with 2. Are you going to go up? You're going to stay exactly where you are. So there is the x-axis, and your line looks like this. So that is how to graph linear equations using x and y intercepts. Tomorrow, we'll learn about slope.